Excuse me, I had to get a sip of water real quick. This is a quick follow up to a video I posted about not being held back, or not holding yourself back while you're waiting on an apology from somebody that you feel like hurt you in the past, that done you wrong. You know, yeah, any type of situation that may have caused you confusion, stress, trauma. The norm. And the thing is, a lot of times in life, people do things to us that we feel like was just downright wrong. You feel like they owe you an apology. You feel like they have to make it right somehow. And you have this thing where sometimes you feel like you can't move forward until you receive that, until you have that closure. Now, the toughest thing in life is, for a lot of people, it's just moving on without closure. But what does that closure really look like? What if you went to have a conversation with somebody and start out okay, right? Starts out okay, and the minute you say to them, "Yeah, you just really did me wrong, and I just feel like you need to apologize to me for that. I just feel like that wasn't good. You really, it just really bothered me." And they're like, "Whoa, like, well, as I remember, you did some wild things to me too." I feel like, I mean, if you want to be like that, I feel like you should apologize to me. Like, do you? And you're like, what do you mean I did something wrong to you? Do you know what you did? You did this, that, and third. And they're like, well, that's because this, that, and third, you did this. And they say something to you that you had no idea that it bothered them. You had no idea that it affected them. Matter of fact, you weren't even intentionally trying to hurt them. Where do you go from there? It changes the whole script. Now you may say, well, of course, well then at least that will give you some insight on what happened, and then you can maybe forgive them, and they'll forgive you, and you guys call it even. Sounds good. But to me, instead of closure, that kind of sounds like it opens up a new can of worms. So not only is it's not closure, you're opening something, right? You're opening the wound, so to speak, right? And I guess what I'm saying is, where do you go from there? This is for the person who needs closure, who wants to go to somebody and tell them what they did was wrong, and I need your apology and all this other stuff. What if they come back to you and say, well, you did this, that, and the third, and that made me feel away, but you don't see me throwing that back in your face or bringing it up and holding that against you? Do a person like that still have to immediately apologize to you in order for you? Well, I guess that's the question. Are you willing to then have the script flipped on you and you apologize to them? I ask that question because a lot of this is about perspective. And most of the time, people are seeing things from their perspective. You're seeing it through your lens. You're not necessarily it's necessarily seeing it from the other person's perspective through their lens, right? And it's times in life, and I've thought about that too, where I had people, they've done some things, they was acting a funny way towards me, and I had to step back. And this is without saying anything to them about it. I felt, a certain type of way about it, but then I had to step back and be like, hmm. Especially if the situation, the relationship wasn't always like that. If you have a situation where things seem cool, like y'all been, pretty had a pretty decent relationship, and then you find they did something or they acted in a way that really felt unwarranted. Now, naturally, you feel hurt, you feel bothered by it. But then I'm like, is there any way that I could have done something like that first? And this is after thinking about it for a while. Is there any way that maybe I could have done the same thing and I just didn't realize it? And maybe they didn't say anything to me about it. And there were some times when I did that same thing. I thought about that. And it turned out, oh, I could see how a decision I made or a way I was acting towards them could have been perceived in a hurtful way. And then within my mind, I was like, no harm, no foul. Never really brought it up or anything. And we just kept on, kept keeping on, you know? And that's the point of what I'm trying to say. Like I said, not to hold you long. I'm not trying to stay long. Before you just go down this path, and this is not for everybody, but we all can examine it, right? Before you go down the path, some situation is obvious. You know, if this person wronged you, it was clear it had nothing to do with something you did. But sometimes you can stop and look to say, is it something that I done? Is this something that could have been perceived from me that contributed to the behavior, to the action, to the choice of that other person, right? And it's not saying that you go and excuse it. Two rights don't make it wrong. We know that. But it gives you some clarity for yourself, right? It gives you something so that you're not just stuck being like, man, why would they do that? If you want to know why, right? Sometimes you can be like, well, right or wrong. You know, it's like saying, you walk up to somebody and you trip and bump them, right? Walking down the street. And let's say New York City. That's a great example. New York City is a great place where it seemed like it can happen like that. You trip, bump into them, and they turn around and shove you back against the wall like, yo, watch it. Well, the clear answer, if you want to know why they do that, why they did that, because you bumped into them. Did you do it on purpose? No. Did you bump into them? Yes. And their reaction was them shoving you into a wall. Do you then go and, go to the person and say, oh, my bad, look, and exchange information and become friends and try to hang out? No, not at all. But it gives you some clarity if you have a question why it happened. Oh, because I bumped into him. So you're not as confused. A lot of people say why. It's like, do you really want to know why? Or you just want to be a victim? If you really want to know why, see if it's something that you did to contribute. Is it somehow, are they reacting over something that you did? Again, does it make it right? Does it mean that you be friends with a person? You have to decide that for yourself, right? If you guys been friends before and y'all was close, and maybe you find out that it was something you did unintentionally, right? That was taken the wrong way, and the person did what they did. So you may be like, you know what? We can hash this out. And I understand because I know that typically you wouldn't have done that, but I guess from your perspective, I can see how you would feel that way or may react that way. I would appreciate if you never do that again, but I'm willing to let it pass. I understand. That's some type of thing you could do, like I said, if it's really worth all that. Aside from that, it's for yourself. It's information for yourself if you really want to know why. Maybe it's something you contribute. But aside from that, if you're not really going to look at it from that perspective, sometimes you just have to let it go. That's all I'm saying. It's not to be insensitive, but sometimes you do have to just let it go.